Hey, night owls, insomniacs, and curiosity addicts, slide a little closer to the glow of the screen, grab whatever midnight snack is within reach, and flick that fan on low hum. Tonight we're clocking in for one of history's worst shift jobs, the guillotine crew of revolutionary France. Before we even unstrap the blade or count the spare rope, do me a solid. Tap the like button so it lights up like a lantern in a Paris alley. Subscribe if you vibe with dark corners of boring history, and comment with your current time zone so I know who's hanging out past bedtime. Ready? Take a breath that'll soon smell like rust, sweat, and old sawdust. Because the workday starts before dawn and ends only when everyone's too numb to talk. You wake up in a cramped garret that sits 3 stories above a fishmonger's stall, and the stench of yesterday's catch is already trying to crawl up your nostrils. It's 4:13 a.m. The city, technically, is asleep, but the guillotine never sleeps. It merely waits. Your first job? Locate your boots without stepping on the rat that chews the candle drippings you left by mistake. You shuffle into trousers stiff with dried rainwater and maybe a few flecks of something darker. Outside, the street is slick. The cobbles glisten under a slim sliver of moon, and you swear you can already hear the distant hammering of a platform being repaired. Execution day is market day for second-hand fear. Rag dealers stitch linen cloths big enough to catch heads. Tavern owners fill tubs with watered wine for the thirsty crowd. And we, the so-called crew, assemble the apparatus that everyone pretends not to stare at until the drums roll. Our supervisor is the maître, Monsieur Sanson, a man with a permanent frown etched into his cheeks, part sorrow, part headache. He issues the morning checklist like a quartermaster in Hell's supply depot. Blade, lunette, bascule, leather straps, wooden wedges, large bucket, smaller bucket, tarpaulin, fresh straw. You glance at the blade first, always the blade, because a dull one means 2 drops instead of 1, and nobody wants that PR nightmare. Carrying the blade is ritual. 2 men lift it on a wooden yoke, balancing the weighted end so it doesn't swing and slice a wrist. The steel feels colder than the dawn breeze, and you keep your fingers a hair-breadth away, close enough to sense its power, far enough not to test it. People talk about cold steel, but this is sub-zero morality. It makes you shiver even under 3 layers of wool. On the Place de la Révolution, the scaffold waits like a half-finished stage play. Sawdust carpets the planks, hiding old stains that never quite scrub out. We set the uprights in their grooves, tighten iron pins with a blacksmith's hammer, then haul the blade up using a system of pulleys and a lot of cursing. Above you, the sky blushes pale pink. Paris is waking, and you're hoisting something designed to shut people up forever. If you feel weird about it, you don't show it. The first rule of the crew: keep your mouth shut and your lunch down. By 7 a.m., the vendors arrive. They hawk sticky buns, roasted chestnuts, souvenirs shaped like little guillotines. A street singer belts out a tune about liberty while eyeing your every move in case you provide new lyrics in blood. You slide the lunette, those twin wooden arches that cradle the neck, into its slot, testing the hinge. It squeaks. A little lamp oil fixes the problem. Squeaks rattle nerves, and frayed nerves cause riots. Quick math. Calm crowd equals fewer stones thrown. Fewer stones mean less time picking gravel from your scalp later. Someone hands you a leather satchel, the list of names, signed and sealed by the Revolutionary Tribunal. Reading it is optional, but inevitable. You scan them. One baker accused of hoarding grain, two aristocrats whose only crime is looking too powdered, one printer who published the wrong cartoon. You swallow. These people will be inches from your boots soon, and you're wondering whether any of them ever bought bread from the fishmonger below your room. Mid-morning, the soldiers march in, tricolor cockades shining like angry eyes. They form a human fence to keep the crowd from rushing the scaffold. But let's be real, they're also here to keep you from bolting. Nobody trusts the crew, sometimes not even the crew itself. You catch the gaze of the newest recruit. Teenage shoulders, baby fog still in his stare. He's pale, lips trembling. First day, you ask? He nods. You remember yours and almost gag. 10:45. Drums. The cart rattles onto the square carrying the condemned, backs straight, hands tied, faces drawn. You can feel the crowd's breath become a single beastly exhale. Sanson lifts his hand, and suddenly every sound seems louder. The creak of the wheels, the rustle of skirts, one baby crying somewhere. You and another crewman grip the prisoner beneath each arm, guiding them up the steps. The wood trembles under their weight and yours. From down there, the platform looked solid. Up here, it feels thin as ice over dark water. You undo the neckcloth. Fingers fumble because people wiggle when they're scared. Some pray, some spit, some crack jokes that fall flat, but still earn a brittle chuckle from the mob. Your job isn't comfort, but you mutter, "Stand still, monsieur," as though that's the kindest sentence in your vocabulary. You lower the lunette's top half. It latches with a dull clunk that always sounds final. Then you step aside, just far enough to avoid backsplash. Sanson releases the rope. The blade drops. It's quick. Gravity has no mercy. And yet you swear there's a timeless pause right before impact, like reality itself inhaling. The sound is not a clap or a chop. It's a muffled thud, heavier than you expect for steel on flesh. Some say it's the shoulders slamming against wood. Others insist it's the soul evacuating. You only know it echoes inside your skull long after the blood is sluiced away. Speaking of blood, next comes cleanup. Two crewmen tip the big bucket of water while you scrub the groove with rough cloth. If it coagulates, the blade sticks on the next drop and everyone panics. Splash, scrub, splash, scrub. Bystanders flinch when red puddles cascade off the scaffold. A stray dog darts forward to lap at the runoff before a guard kicks it back. Somewhere a woman faints. Teenagers cheer. You glance at the clock on the Hôtel de Ville. 11:07 a.m. 4 more names on today's list. Second prisoner climbs the steps, legs shaking so badly you and the rookie nearly carry him. The rookie's hands slip. He gets crimson streaks on his cuffs. That stain will never wash out, just fade to brown ghost marks no matter how hard he scrubs tonight. You steady him, both the prisoner and your teammate, and think about lunch. Bread and cheese sound impossible right now, but you'll force it down because fainting is frowned upon in this line of work. By early afternoon, the rhythm sets in. It's mechanical, almost hypnotic. Guide, strap, latch, drop, rinse, repeat. The crowd cycles too. Fresh gossip, fresh outrage, fresh gamblers placing bets on whether anyone will die badly, meaning flailing. You learn to tune them out.
Your world shrinks to the blade's arc and the slosh of red-stained water pouring between the planks.
When the last head of the day tumbles into the wicker basket, a stillness blankets the square, more oppressive than noise. Crowd disperses in clumps like feathers caught in variable wind. Vendors pack unsold pastries, soldiers shoulder muskets. You're left with wooden beams that sag under the weight of silence. Dismantling begins. Lower the blade, tie it wrapped in sacking, stack the posts, sweep stray straw into piles that smell sour. The rookie retches over the rail. Nobody laughs. We've all gifted our breakfast to the cobbles at some point.
Back at the storage shed near the Seine, you lock away the blade under 2 keys. One hangs on your belt, the other on Sanson's. There are rumors thieves will pay fortunes for it. In your opinion, anyone wanting to keep that piece of iron as a trophy is already cursed.
The walk home takes you past cafes buzzing with revolutionary chatter. Patrons discuss execution statistics between sips of coffee. If they notice the crimson spatter on your boots, they say nothing. You're invisible and infamous all at once. Children play guillotine in the gutter, a seesaw plank and a rock for the blade. You catch a toddler giggling as a doll's head pops off. You keep walking. Up the rickety stairs to your room, you peel off socks like damp bandages. Your hands smell of iron no matter how much lye soap you rub. You sit on the mattress stuffed with straw, and the springs creak in protest, as if even they're sick of today's history lesson. Outside, bells toll vespers. Inside, you wonder if victims' faces will haunt your dreams, or, worse, you'll sleep peacefully. You stare at the ceiling beams until darkness drowns the last halo of city lamplight. Somewhere below, the fishmonger dumps another bucket of offal into the street drain, and the smell creeps up in greeting. Time to lace those boots again, friend. Sunrise isn't even a rumor yet, and the rope pulleys in your dreams are still groaning when the sharp rap, rap, rap of Sanson's runner hits your garret door. No words, just 3 knocks, the same as yesterday, the same as tomorrow. You roll off the straw mattress, joints popping like musket flints, and breathe through your sleeve because downstairs the fishmonger's already gutting eels by candlelight. Good morning, Paris. It's execution day. Again. Skip washing. Lye soap won't scrub away the iron-tanged ghosts under your nails, so why waste water? You grab the canvas satchel, whetstone, leather strop, hemp cord, a slice of yesterday's loaf, and clatter down wooden steps that ache more than you do. Outside, fog smoors the street, so thick the tavern sign swings in silence, muffling its usual squeak. You follow the runner's bobbing lantern until torchlight blooms at the outskirts of the place. The scaffold looms in silhouette, a tree without roots, each beam already slick with dew that will soon mingle with something warmer. Inventory first. Blade, shining because you gave it extra passes on the stone last night, chasing sleep. Lunette clamp, hinge oiled, wedge replaced. Straw bales, restocked. The city's bakeries donate old loaves to the poor, but no one donates fresh straw to the scaffold. You pilfer it from horse stalls, and your boots remember every step. Rookie shows up late, eyes swollen from whatever nightmares tried to strangle him. You toss him the bucket and point to the Seine, water duty. He nods, grateful for a chore that keeps him moving. By dawn proper, the crowd thickens, a festival without musicians. Whispers trade rumors. Today's list includes a playwright who mocked the wrong minister.
a young mother accused of hiding royalist letters in her laundry, and, rumor has it, a former food taster from the old court who outlived his king and is about to pay interest in blood. Irony isn't edible, but mobs feast on it anyway.
Drummers test rolls while you and the crew hoist the blade. Ropes creak overhead. You feel the tension in your shoulders mirror the tension in hemp. One splinter stabs your palm, but you squeeze until it snaps. Pain feels like penance, keeps the stomach steady. You tighten the release hitch, step back, and stare at that dangling edge of polished inevitability. Gravity, you think, is the only monarch left.
First cart arrives. 3 prisoners huddle under tricolor blankets that fail to hide the tremble in their knees. Soldiers thrust pikes to separate them from clutching relatives. Hands reach, fingertips brush. Hope shatters like thin ice. You grab the playwright. He smells of ink and stale wine. Up the steps, knees buckling. Face forward, you murmur, half command, half confession that you wish you could face any other direction. Lunette closes, blade drops, script finished. The crowd exhales. Somewhere, coins change hands. You mop crimson spatter before it cakes. Efficiency is mercy the public never sees. Next, the young mother. She whispers 2 names, children, before the latch clicks. Rookie's lips tremble. You shove him aside when he fumbles with the strap. 1 clean stroke. But children, you think, and the mental weight settles heavier than any blade. You mark her name off the satchel list with a charcoal X that smears as your thumb sweats.
Then comes the ex-food taster. Gray hair, sunken cheeks, eyes that have stared down more poisoned platters than you've seen sunrises. He walks with strange calm, almost relief. At the foot of the scaffold he stops, inhales, and says, "Better this steal than another sip." Crowd hushes, words rare here. You guide him up, and he sets his chin in the lunette like a man taking final communion. Blade falls. No splashy mess. Arteries concede quietly in older men. You catch yourself thinking that he, at least, got a choice of last breakfasts all those years, not today's menu.
Cleanup stretches longer. Fog lifted, sun glaring, blood drying faster. Rookie pumps water, arm aching. You toss him a crust. Eat. He bites, gagging. Keep it down, you tell him. Lesson 1. Lesson 2. Count. Each head, each scrub stroke, each heartbeat. Counting is a rope you hold so the abyss doesn't pull you over.
By mid-afternoon, Tribunal Courier delivers tomorrow's list. You break seal with stained thumb, 9 names, and one of them is a printer who supplied the posters you use to announce executions. Circular efficiency of terror. You pocket the parchment. No point showing the crew yet. Let them finish the day's horrors before tasting tomorrow's recipe.
Disassembly routine begins. Blade lowered, bolts loosened, planks stacked. Crowd gone, square eerily wholesome under sunset gold. But the wood knows. It drinks what it drinks. You sling the blade sack over your shoulder, weight familiar as guilt, and head for the lockup. Rookie trails, dragging empty buckets that slosh with leftover dread. Along Quai de la Mairie, you pass lovers strolling, oblivious. River smells cleaner here, or maybe your nose quit. Rooftops blush rose. You think how blood looks black under lamplight, yet ruby in sun. Context is everything, even for fluids. Lockblade, hand the second key to Sanson, sign the logbook. Day officially over. Night drift. Tavern, cheap wine to scour throat, but the taste vaguely coppery. Patrons debate politics. One mentions today's calm efficiency with morbid admiration. You sip, silent. If they knew the rookie's tears diluted the basin, would they still applaud? Probably. They crave theater, not truth. Back at Garrett, you peel off boots, upend them. 2 stray teeth clatter out, souvenirs lodged in the tread. You toss them in the gutter, whisper an apology to no one. Rat scurries by. Fish offal perfume rides the breeze. And below, distant laughter reminds you life continues, even after heads stop. You stretch on straw, blade flash strobing behind eyelids, and count heartbeats until sleep finally cleaves thought from awareness. The bells of St. Roch begin their slow pre-dawn toll long before you're ready to quit dreaming of anything except fresh sawdust and clean hands. The sound folds itself into your ribs, 5 measured clangs, 1 for each finger that clenches the release lever. You're already awake when the 6th lands, staring at the splinter you never managed to pry from your thumb. By the 7th, you're moving because habit beats dread 9 times out of 10. Boots, satchel, key. Out in the lane you pass the bread cart, and the baker's daughter waves her paddle like a priest's aspergillum. She offers yesterday's ends for straw money. You shake your head. Taste buds never forgive the metallic ghost you carry on them. And besides, chewing reminds you of tendons. She shrugs, sprinkles salt on the loaves, and hums a tavern tune whose chorus ends, "We all hang together." You try not to take it personally. Turn the corner, and the Seine greets you with its usual perfume of mud, fish, and secrets. Ducks glide past barges already unloading casks of Portuguese wine. Midnight arrival, special tax privilege, same vintage that will wash down politics at tonight's salons. You wonder if any sip will taste of the playwright's final sigh or the mother's whispered names. Probably not. Palates refine faster than consciences. Sanson's runner meets you under the Pont Neuf arch, lantern off, moon bright enough. He hands you a folded note, inspection. You don't need to read the wax seal to feel your stomach coil. The committee likes surprise visits, making sure blades are sharp and hearts properly dulled. Fail either test and you'll swap roles with tomorrow's client list. The runner vanishes as silently as he arrived, like guilt slipping into a confessional. Square still empty. Scaffold shadow stretches across cobbles like a lectern awaiting scripture. Rookies there already, mopping yesterday's residue with vinegar water. His eyes look older, or maybe he's finally slept and now dreams weigh heavier. You nod, he nods back. No words. Language costs energy neither of you can spare. First task, raise the uprights to check for hidden cracks. You and 2 assistants wedge shoulders beneath the main beam. Lift. Wood groans. Sinews in your arms answer. No splits. Good. You lower it, hands vibrating. Next, the blade. You unroll oilcloth. Steel gleams like the inside of a storm cloud when lightning's just about to speak. You test its edge with a single horsehair. Hair floats down in 2 perfectly even halves. Acceptable. Rookie's eyes widen. You pretend not to notice his admiration for the wrong miracle. The inspector arrives just as dawn smears peach across the horizon. Trim gray coat, tricolor cockade, ledger tucked under arm. He walks the boards, tapping with a cane.
"Clean," he announces, but his gaze lingers on a knot in the railing. You make a mental note, sand it smooth tonight. Last thing you need is the committee accusing you of splintering the Republic's dignity. List for the day only holds 3 names. Mercy? No. High profile means thicker crowds, thicker tension. One is a banker who financed a failed bread subsidy. Rumor claims he hoarded flour while children chewed boot leather. Second, a deserter dragged back from the Northern Front with frostbite and opinions. Third, an apothecary accused of diluting laudanum sold to hospital wards. He swears he added water for purity, not profit. Truth rarely swings the lever. You notice the inspector scribble a red mark beside the apothecary's name. Means the committee desires a public confession. That requires time, pins, maybe hot iron. You check the clock in your head, slotting a longer intermission between victims to let the torturers work. Logistics is half your craft. Gravity handles the rest. The crowd gathers early. Thin women clutching thinner children, hawkers selling chestnuts, pickpockets prowling like sharks beneath waves of woolen cloaks. A peddler offers miniature guillotines carved from cherry wood, lids snapped down with a satisfying click. You purchase one with a sou for the rookie. Teaching tools come in strange shapes. Procession begins. Drums, soldiers, drab cart. Banker first. He's sweating through silk, too rich to own wool, too doomed for it to matter. Up the steps, knees wobble like boiling sugar. You signal rookie to secure ankles, important. Spasms topple dignity. Banker tries to speak, maybe to buy a pardon, but the lunette kisses his neck before syllables bloom. Blade sings, crowd roars approval. A beggar holds out bowl, you drop a copper in. Small tithe to balance scales you can't see. Between acts, committee men drag the apothecary beneath the scaffold where portable brazier smolders. You avoid that corner. Smell of scorching leather straps reminds you of feast days in childhood when goose skin crackled on the spit. The past shouldn't share flavors with the present. Deserter is next. He limps, shivers, eyes darting like trapped sparrows. Soldiers jeer louder than civilians, their own fear echoed back. You feel a pang. Battlefields you've never seen still bleed into this square through him. He refuses blindfold. You respect that. Angle the blade for minimal bone shatter. Drop. Silence for half a heartbeat. Then cheers. Rookie swallows bile. You clap his shoulder. Count, you whisper. He mouths 2. Torchbearer signals. Apothecary ready. Torture produces words but robs voice. He arrives half collapsed, throat ragged. Committee wants the public to hear reparations. Instead, he croaks unintelligible syllables. Inspector frowns. You shrug. Your stage, not your script. You do what stage managers do. Deliver the finale with flourish. Blade drops. Death mercifully translates what French could not. Square empties slower today. Gossip needs time to ferment. You oversee scraping of planks, sanding that knot, coiling ropes. Inspector nods curtly, ledger closed, passing grade. You exhale, a breath you'd been holding so long it feels borrowed. Rookie lingers while others haul straw. He palms the cherry wood toy. Why this? He asks. You flip the miniature lever. Tiny blade snaps down. Practice, you say. Better to rehearse on dolls.
He looks unconvinced. Evening drapes gold over stone as you lock the blade. On the way home, rain starts, soft at first, then earnest. Streets clear, thunder mutters about justice. You duck into an arcade, sit on a barrel, let rain rinse splinters from hair. Across the alley, a tavern window glows. Silhouettes gesture, laugh, argue. For a moment you watch them like a play with no sound. You wonder if tomorrow any of them will trade places with names on your list. When rain eases, you head on, stepping over rivulets that carry stray feathers and crumpled proclamations toward the river. At your garret, you light a stub of tallow, sharpen the big blade's little cousin, kitchen knife from an old life, habit. Steel's song calms the hum behind your ears. Afterwards, you write in your private ledger: banker, clean; deserter, honorable; apothecary, merciful. 3 words like prayers, though you stopped believing in intercession the first time sinew jammed the groove and forced a second pull. Sleep comes fitfully. In dreams, the cherry-wood toy grows tall, looming like a gallows, and when its blade falls, it slices moonlight, not flesh. You wake before dawn, heart hammering, unsure whether that counts as mercy or threat. A hush settles over the ridge long before the dawn patrol crests its spine, and you know, by the way the watchfires have burned themselves into cold constellations of ash, that neither side slept soundly. Below you, the valley waits like a clasped book, shut tight around its grudges. Teutonic banners furled on one slope, Livonian crosses on the other, and between them the winding stream that was supposed to be a border, but somehow keeps wandering like gossip. You ease your weight off the splintery palisade rail and stretch a neck gone stiff from listening. All night the wind carried fragments of argument, German oaths rattling armor plates, guttural prayers in Old Prussian, the thin, high whistle of a kettle that boiled dry because its owner forgot he'd set it on the brazier while composing yet another grievance list. The quarrel started, officially, over timber rights, though everyone admits it's really about pride, tribute, and whether the Teutonic brothers sneer when they bless bread. Hoofbeats crunch frost. 2 riders approach the gate, one in black and white habit, the other in scarlet surcoat edged with wolf-tail trim. Envoys, again. You signal the porter to lift the crossbeam. When they dismount, the Teutonic emissary's mailed fist grips a scroll, sealed with beeswax and the imprint of Hawkmeister Winrich. The Livonian carries nothing but a pouch that jingles. Silver bribe or ransom for an apology, you can't guess yet. They follow you into the timber-framed hall where Brother Knight Stefan is already pretending he didn't spend the last hour scribbling fresh counterclaims. The envoys doff helms, steam curling from hair like saints' halos gone crooked. Quick bows, thin smiles, parchment lands on the trestle table with a slap. You pour watered ale, neutral beverage, no vineyard loyalties here, and step back, ears pricked. Winrich's letter is read aloud. You count the barbs. Encroach, heresy of arrogance, fraternal correction. Each word another arrow loosed at Livonian prestige. Stefan's jaw works as though he's chewing iron filings. When the reading ends, the Livonian envoy drops his pouch. 93 silver pfennigs spill across the oak like frozen raindrops. He says they represent the exact tally of border timbers felled by Teutonic axes last winter, plus interest. And he demands, in the same blink, payment for 3 stolen sheep and an apology delivered barefoot at Mass. Stefan's laugh is almost kind. He rolls the silver back toward the envoy, so hard pieces scatter to the floor. "Keep your charity," he says. "We will take restitution in bloodless form. Your garrison out of Wendon by Michael comes." You recognize the moment the truce snaps. It sounds like nothing, a breath sucked too sharply, but everyone hears it. The Teutonic envoy steps forward, fingers grazing his sword hilt. Not drawn, just familiar. You slide one hand to the horn of the drinking pitcher. Solid clay makes acceptable cudgel should courtesy fail. Outside the hall, church bells mark prime. Your stomach knots, not fear, but calculation. Both orders serve the same distant pope. Both claim the same mission of baptizing the Baltic. And both would die before admitting they bicker like parish fishwives. Officially, any duel here will be masked as a juridical ordeal, perhaps arranged by fire or water, maybe a test of relic authenticity. Unofficially, scouts are already saddling horses.
Stefan dismisses the envoys with a curt blessing, Latin crisp as frostbite. They leave by different doors, parallel exits for parallel grudges, so their cloaks never brush. You follow the Teutonic down the corridor lit by arrow slits, watching his footsteps avoid every creaking plank. Spies learn floor songs quickly. At the gate he mounts, salutes, and gallops east, probably to deliver the news that war may resume at dawn if diplomatic thunder doesn't strike first.
When you return, Stefan is raking coals. He motions you close. "I need 2 quiet riders," he says, "one to Riga, one to Rome." You nod. Already know who. Brother Scribe Mikolai for papal rhetoric, Squire Olaf for speed. "Choose a third," Stefan adds after a beat, voice lower. "A shadow. Someone to follow the Teutonic envoy unseen." You think of Caspar, the mute footman who can track a hare across granite, and assent. Before noon, you've written 3 identical travel passes bearing both orders' seals, forgery but mutual, slipped them under saddle straps, and watched your messengers melt into snow-bright distance. Now there's nothing left except to prepare for whatever will unfold when envoys meet again, if they ever bother. You head to the armory where chain hauberks hang like abandoned skins, oiled and brooding. Polishing links calms the mind, each ring a prayer bead of steel. As you work, you recall other feuds. Templars versus Hospitallers over ransom divisions in Cyprus. Calatrava knights accusing Alcantara brethren of watering wine offered at treaty tables. Sword brethren's near mutiny when Teutonic rule stripped them of dragon badges. History is a ledger kept in blades. At Vespers, hope flickers in the form of a raven. Yes, a raven, alighting on the cloister wall with a blood-red ribbon tied to its leg. Cipher message, Casper's sign. You loosen the knot. Parchment scrap reads, "Envoy meeting Brother Ulrich at Lemsel. Purpose, relic transfer." Relic transfer means leverage. Teutonics must possess some holy fragment they intend to trade for allies or absolution. Maybe a saint's knuckle, maybe splinters from Christ's crib. Either way, objects stir crowds faster than decrees. Stefan studies the note, lips tight. "If they parade relics," he says, "we'll parade miracles."
He orders you south at first light to the abandoned hermitage of St. Meinhard, where, rumor insists, an incorrupt hand lies buried. If you can retrieve even one finger bone, the Livonians can claim divine favor equal or greater.
Night deepens. You assemble tools, small spade, beeswax candles, linen wraps, a copy of Gregory's Dialogues for Plausible Piety. Rookie, called Arvo, volunteers to accompany you. You hesitate, then nod. Apprentices learn loyalty by wading through mud, not by reciting rules. Before sleep, you climb the watchtower. In the distance, campfires stud the hills on the Teutonic side, orange stars in hostile constellations. Beyond them, the forests whisper in languages older than crusades. Somewhere, pagan tribes watch both orders squabble and wonder which Christian will bleed first. The wind carries snowflakes that sting like sparks and melt on your cheek with a brackish caste. Reminder that all salt comes from tears, sea, or both. In the pre-dawn gray you ride out, Arvo beside you, hooves muffled by last night's dusting. The road passes frozen peat bogs where stunted pines tilt like penitents. After 2 hours, silence breaks. Arvo asks if relics ever refuse to cooperate. You smile at his phrasing. Miracles, you tell him, prefer audiences. They rarely manifest in empty woods. He digests that, nods. The hermitage appears as a lopsided stone hut nested against a granite spur. Snow clings to moss-shagged roof. Doorless frame yawns dark. Inside, your breath carves ghosts in the air. You locate the altar slab, pry at its mortar seam until it sighs open, revealing loam the color of old manuscripts. Candlelight trembles. Arvo crosses himself left-handed, superstition for luck. Spade bites soil. Earth yields a small cedar box bound with iron strips. You whisper a psalm, though which one you're never sure. It's the tone that matters. Lid creaks. Within rests a wizened hand. Skin parchment gold. Fingers curled as though gripping invisible quill. A faint smell. Frankincense mingled with centuries of hush. Saint or not, it is relic enough. You wrap it in linen, tuck into satchel. Outside, wind keens approval or warning. Return journey feels shorter but heavier. Near the ridge, scouts intercept with news. Teutonic camp broke midday, marching toward the bridge at Izborsk, where loyal merchant guilds gather for winter fair. If they display their relic before the guild masters first, donations and loyalties will tilt. Stefan's orders arrive on second breath. You're to detour north, flank the procession, and arrange a shared unveiling so both orders claim piety without yielding pride. Politics on horseback in snow. Fun! Arvo suggests blocking the bridge by felling a tree upstream. Crude but efficient. You modify. Stage an ice slide of logs on the riverbank, forcing both parties into a temporary shelter, the abandoned granary possessed by neutral Cistercians. There you can negotiate a joint mass and dual blessing. With luck, swords stay sheathed. Execution goes half smooth. Logs topple as planned. Water churns. Commanders curse you in 3 dialects. But the sudden halt means men mingle while waiting. Tired laughter rises. Someone shares hot mead. Teutonic and Livonian sergeants compare arrow wounds like grandmothers discuss recipes. You marvel how easily common soldiers forget mandates when warmth and alcohol intervene. Their masters, unfortunately, have longer memories.
By dusk, everyone's herded into the granary, rafters creaking under weight of chainmail. You stand beside a rough-hewn altar of grain sacks. Stefan enters with cross reliquary containing the newly retrieved hand. Teutonic Hochmeister presents his own treasure, a silver reliquary shaped like a lamb, allegedly housing fleece strands from the nativity manger. 2 relics, 1 altar, 80 armed egos.
Silence. Then, miracle of sorts. A child's wail pierces the crowd. Merchant's infant, feverish, gasping. Mother begs for holy aid. Neither master can refuse without appearing faithless. They consent to lay both relics upon the child's blanket. You place the hand. Hochmeister places the lamb. Monks chant. You count heartbeats. The infant's crying slows. Stops. Not dead, sleeping. Sweat dries on its brow. The mother sobs praise. Soldiers murmur awe.
Moment crystallizes. 2 rivals locked in competition, now sharing credit for grace. You see realization dawn in Stefan's eyes. Joint pilgrimage possibilities, doubled tithe prospects. For the first time, profit aligns with peace. He turns to Hochmeister, offers right hand. After a breath, the German clasps it. Applause ripples. Somewhere, angels or accountants smile. Treaty ink is still future, but tonight swords rest. You slip outside, find Arvo staring at stars. "Did we just witness a miracle?" he asks. You answer with the truth knights fear most. Sometimes miracles are just well-timed necessities. He laughs, young enough to think cynicism harmless. Back at camp, Stefan plans press releases, parchment copies to be read in town squares from Riga to Königsberg. By divine sign, the orders are reconciled. You prepare summaries for papal legates, emphasizing unity, downplaying that it hinged on a feverish child and a pile of timber logs.
Near midnight, Kaspar the tracker appears, silent as falling ash. He presses a token into your palm, fragment of blue enamel bearing half an eagle, emblem of a rival chapter within the Teutonic ranks, evidence that not all brothers applaud peace. Feud's next chapter already seeds itself beneath the snow. You pocket the shard, sigh. History never quits. It just changes actors. Candles gutter. Beyond the ridge, wolves howl, indifferent arbiters of lineage and oath. Tomorrow you'll ride to the episcopal seat to script formal vows. But for now you lean against a hay bale, mind thumping with exhaustion, and finally nibble a piece of the baker girl's bread you'd tucked away. Still tastes of iron, but tonight also of hope. Snowmelt drips from the eaves in a slow-motion countdown when the first corpse floats past the mill wheel. Face down, mail shirt torn open, Teutonic badge half ripped away as if shame itself tried to drown. You're on the outer rampart, counting roast ox rations, when a sentry shouts, "Body in the sluice!" And suddenly every fragile promise of yesterday's armistice feels like glass set too close to the hearth. Hey, before we fish more trouble out of this frigid river, nudge that like button and tap subscribe if medieval backstabbing helps you drift off. Drop a comment with the unluckiest job you've heard of so far: tax collector, food taster, or, by tonight's look of it, détente negotiator. Okay, lanterns low, blankets up around your ears, let's ease further into the mess. The corpse is hauled onto the bank. Livonian sergeants circle, grim.
Teutonic squires hang back, paler than dawn. No wounds at first glance. Then Caspar, the mute tracker, pries open the clenched fist and reveals a blue enamel shard identical to the one he gave you last night. Broken eagle, inner order emblem. Murder as manifesto.
Stefan arrives, cloak flapping, expression carved stone. Hochmeister Ulrich appears seconds later, flanked by trumped-up bodyguards. Silence thickens with the smell of wet wool and river muck. You watch both leaders study the corpse. They recognize him, Brother Knight Dietmar, quartermaster, known moderate, the sort who'd toast reconciliation. He's turned into a cautionary scarecrow.
Ulrich demands a tribunal. Stefan counters with joint inquest. Both are really stalling to see who blinks first. You're ordered to examine the body with brother physician Willibald. No blade marks, no blunt trauma, only a faint discoloration around lips. Poison, perhaps bitter almond, arsenic or ratbane ground fine. But Dietmar's mail is ripped as though a struggle. Someone wanted it to look violent, yet leave no visible attack. You jot the details, seal them in wax, hand to Stefan. He mutters, "Someone's framing both of us." You nod. The river carried Dietmar downstream from the Teutonic camp. Easy plant job. Night air whistles through arrow slits. You feel the mood tipping. Within hours, rumors bloom. Livonians whisper that Teutonic zealots murdered Dietmar to blame local pagans. Teutonic footmen hiss that Livonian heretics staged the corpse to sabotage the treaty. You see fists tightening around spear shafts. The valley can't hold this tension much longer. You convene emergency council inside the granary. Ulrich, Stefan, senior chaplains, 2 merchant guild aldermen, because trade is oil on any fire. Candles sputter, wax tears. You propose a solution borrowed from long-forgotten Lombard courts, the night of shared vigil. Both orders will place their relics, the saint's hand and the silver lamb, upon the high altar of the valley church and keep watch together until sunrise, publicly demonstrating trust. If further violence or theft occurs under joint guard, guilt will reveal itself. Simplistic? Yes, but spectacle steers crowds. Ulrich scoffs. Stefan shrugs. Aldermen cheer. Pilgrim traffic loves drama. Decision sealed. Dusk. A procession winds through the valley. Torches flare, banners mingle. Townsfolk crowd mud lanes despite sleet. You march near the relic bearers, sidestepping puddles that could swallow boots whole. At the old Romanesque church, mossy ashlar, roof patched in tin, the relics are enthroned. Choir boys from both orders sing alternating verses. The polyphony is gorgeous, if slightly competitive. Vigil begins. No one may speak after compline except in prayer. You take post near the north transept, Arvo beside you. Caspar prowls galleries overhead like a roof cat. Hours crawl. Torches gutter. Wax pools on flagstones. You drift between psalm recitations and half-dreams of quiet taverns. Then, creak, snap, a faint clink like bead on stone. Your eyes snap open. Across the nave, a shadow lowers itself on rope from the triforium. Lean figure in dark cot, face hooded. Rope anchored to clerestory beam. Silent infiltration. Target obvious, the relic altar.
You hiss at Arvo. He raises crossbow, but can't fire without piercing altar guard. You slip along pews, staying low, heart in throat. The intruder lands cat-soft, produces vial, liquid glints. Poison, acid to mar relics. He reaches for the silver lamb first. You lunge, grappling wrist. Liquid splashes harmlessly on plank, stinks of vinegar and quicklime. Intruder twists, sends elbow to your jaw. Pain flashes constellations. Fight stays hushed, every watcher locked in silent vow.
Caspar drops from balcony like hawk, tackles both of you. The vial skitters, shatters beneath Saint's hand. Hiss rises, but relic untouched. Wrestle, pin, hood ripped back. Gasps ripple. The saboteur is neither Teutonic nor Livonian, but a Hospitaller novice named Raymond, insignia hastily removed. Different order entirely, roaming far from its Mediterranean theaters. Motive? Stefan breaks vow of silence with a thundered "Explain." Hospitaller spits blood, mutters, "False relics, insult the cross. Only our order bears true mandate." Religious purity masquerading as sabotage, or perhaps geopolitical. Hospitallers fear northern crusades, siphoning papal donations, once bound for Holy Land.
Ulrich seizes on revelation to exonerate his men. Stefan mirrors him. Tension releases like drawn bow, briefly, but new menace sprouts. If Hospitallers meddle, alliances pivot again. You secure Raymond in a side chapel, chained to pillar. Dawn bells peal. Crowd outside awaits verdict. Stefan addresses them first. An outsider threatened our shared sanctity. Therefore, by miracle and cooperation, we prevailed. Cheers ripple. You note merchants counting potential pilgrim profits. Ulrich blesses the audience, echoing unity. Yet politics is never content with one villain. Letters must fly to Rhodes, Rome, Avignon. Depositions, denunciations. You're tasked with drafting the packet because you witnessed the arrest. Pen scratching parchment becomes weapon sharper than sword. Mid-morning, as sun ignites frost into diamond mist, Caspar pulls you aside and signs in quick gestures. Found second vial hidden in choir loft, marked with 8-pointed Hospitaller cross. Evidence of larger cell? You stow the vial, proof conjured for future leverage. Over next days, joint patrols of Teutonic and Livonian riders sweep forests, arrest 2 more black-cloaked strangers near Border Inn. Under questioning, cold water, not rack, public image matters. They confess to meeting Hospitaller master in Riga port. Plan was simple. Ignite renewed war, so Northerners beg Hospitaller mediation, revitalizing their waning prestige. Crusading business is cutthroat. While commanders haggle about extradition, you juggle logbooks, casualty counts, barley stocks, parchment requisitions for scribes now chronicling Miracle of the Sleepless Night. Hagiographers already polishing drafts where the saint's hand glowed to paralyze the intruder. Did it? Memory is pliable under candlelight. Arvo approaches with worry. Raymond refuses food. If he dies, martyr narrative flips. You persuade Stefan to allow Dominican confessor, neutral stripe, to grant solace. Conversation overheard through keyhole reveals Raymond joined sabotage out of idealism manipulated by higher Hospitaller bureaucrats hungry for donations. Duped zealot, not mastermind. That night, you dream of chessboards where knights swap colors every turn. Pawns rise chanting creeds. Bishops whisper currency exchange rates. You wake sweating.
Council decides on compromise. Raimund and captured accomplices to be delivered to papal legate in Lübeck. Meanwhile, all three orders will send representatives to Council on Crusade Coordination next spring. Face-saving detour disguised as spiritual summit. Good luck with that. Before convoy departs, you exchange brief words with Raimund. He looks 12, yet eyes hold atlases of regret. "Did my sin build peace?" he asks. You consider. "Perhaps it reminded rivals of a larger enemy," you answer. He nods, half consoled, half damned. Convoy rolls out. Snow recedes. Mud season begins. Teutonic smiths help Livonian carpenters repair bridge timbers, the ones you sabotaged. Jests blossoming. Our friendship is nailed together stronger than your beams. You watch, suspecting rivalries will sprout anew when summer heat dries goodwill.
Caspar delivers fresh intelligence, a letter intercepted from a minor Calatrava commander extolling opportunity to claim Baltic property while northern orders distracted by internal conferences. The board widens, pieces keep multiplying. Stefan convenes inner circle. Feuds seldom die, he says, they metastasize. Plan emerges. Dispatch emissaries south to Iberia. Offer training exchanges. You volunteer Arvo, time he graduates to courier. And you? Stefan needs you at his side, drafting doctrines for United Military Orders Charter. Lofty text no one intends to follow, but everyone will brandish. Your quill scratches again, forging unity in ink, while sharpening clauses like daggers hidden in sleeves. Days later, messenger from Rome arrives with sealed bull, praising miraculous vigilance, urging peace, lest pagan souls remain unharvested. Papal gift enclosed, splinter of St. Peter's fishing net. More relics, more leverage. Stefan beams, Ulrich smirks. You sigh, another holy bargaining chip. Yet even as parchment dries, word spreads of plague ships skirting the Baltic coast. A new specter that respects no heraldry. Feuds may pause when death chooses sides of its own. One last midnight scene before we dim tonight's lamp. You stand atop the watchtower again. Rivers thaw, carrying shards of ice like ghosts of earlier quarrels. Somewhere south, Raimund's convoy creaks toward judgment. Somewhere north, pagan chiefs sharpen axes, sensing Christian cracks. You exhale fog and hear choir echoes from the vigil, mingled with raven calls. In this fragile hush, you wonder which is truer glue. Shared relics, shared prophets, or shared fear. Rain has a special way of making fortress stone smell like old iron and confessions. It's just past Vespers when the first thunderclap rattles lead-lined windows and sends every drafty corridor groaning like a fleet of ships straining at the pier. You're pacing the scriptorium with a quill between your teeth, inking final revisions to this grand United Military Orders Charter, when Brother Petrus barges in, soaked through, eyes wide, announcing what every sentinel has dreaded since winter. Plague has stepped onto Baltic soil. Hey, before we barricade ourselves behind prayer and questionable medical theory, take a quick second to smack that like button, subscribe if you love history that smells faintly of mildew and intrigue, and let me know in the comments what era's medicine you'd least trust with a paper cut. All right, snuff the torches just enough for cozy glow, pull up the woolen blanket, and let's wade back into the storm.
Petrus drops a crumpled merchant's bill of lading on your scribble table. It lists cargoes, salt fish, wax candles, cheap French wine, and, in the margin, a frantic scrawl. 4 men dead of black swellings, buried at sea. Ship docking at Ventspils. The crew belongs to a Hanseatic cog hired 2 months ago by the Hospitallers, yes, them again, to smuggle wax for reliquaries. You feel your stomach turn colder than the ink. Within hours, Stefan convenes crisis council in the chapel. Ulrich reluctantly attends, radiating suspicion like incense. A single tallow candle flickers between you, casting all your features into furtive holograms. The debate is swift and vicious. Ulrich demands immediate quarantine of coastal ports, plus search of every Hospitaller vessel. Stefan worries such moves will suffocate trade and provoke Han's backlash. The aldermen just want to know if tariffs will be suspended while everyone dies. You propose a middle line. Establish joint plague patrols. Nightly guards who inspect ships before docking, guided by Dominican physicians wielding both censers and vinegar-soaked cloths. It's performative, but symbolism often outruns science. Astonishingly, both commanders agree, mostly because neither trusts the other to lead solo. As you draft the proclamation, Cosper slips in with silent urgency. He produces 2 letters seized from the Hospitaller courier you captured last month, both sealed with red wax and 8-pointed cross. Broken open, they reveal ciphered lists of planned contagion ports. Not epidemics, but staging points where Hospitaller-backed smugglers intend to dump cheap grain, undercutting northern prices and winning goodwill right as plague panic empties granaries. Sabotage via charity. The craftiness would impress Lucifer's bookkeeper. Stefan reads, then punches a pew. They're weaponizing hunger! Ulrich's eyes narrow, calculating. He sees leverage. Expose Hospitallers, claim moral high ground. 2 decisions spin out of the discovery. A covert team, Arvo, Caspar, and 2 Livonian Rangers, will ride south to intercept the grain fleet before it reaches Riga. You and brother physician Willibald will finish the charter and carry it to Lübeck, presenting united front before the Han's Council and papal legates expected there within fortnight. Travel during plague rumors feels like flirting with ghosts. Still, parchment and policy must march. The road to Lübeck. You depart at dawn, wrapped in oiled cloaks, charter scrolls sealed inside cedar tube. Willibald hums psalms, occasionally pausing to jot herbal remedies in his ledger. By day 3, rain turns to sleet, then improbable sunshine teasing through torn clouds. Villages along the trade route greet you with mixed dread and curiosity. They've heard whispers of Saint Death riding merchant sails. At one way station, you meet a Spanish knight sporting Calatrava cross, Don Martin de Talavera, the same order rumored to covet Baltic holdings. He claims to be on pilgrimage, but his saddlebags bulge with encoded ledgers. Over mulled ale, he quizzes you about Livonian harbor defenses. You answer with strategic half-truths. Later that night, you catch him outside the stables, feeding notes to a carrier falcon headed southwest. Old habits. You note plumage pattern, memorize ring sigil. Proof can wait. Willibald, meanwhile, busies himself inspecting every innkeeper's pantry. He believes plague seeds itself in spoiled oats and unwashed cheese.
You suspect the only contagion here is fear, but fear spreads faster than fleas. Crossing Elbe ferries, you arrive at Lübeck to a skyline bristling with cranes and clerestories. Trade banners flap like pageantry of greed. The Hanse council chambers smell of spiced beer and politics. Delegates from Riga, Danzig, Visby gather wearing fur stiffened by salt. Presenting a charter born from bloodshed and fragile trust is like offering glass to jugglers. You unfurl the scroll on oak table, wax seals gleaming. It delineates mutual defense, intelligence sharing, and, crucially, a clause obligating signatories to maintain open ports for mercantile relief, suspending hostile tariffs during pestilence. Merchants applaud, knights tug uncomfortable collars. Profit disguised as piety is still profit. Then Don Martin waltzes in, feigning surprise to see you. He presents a competing memorandum, proposes that Iberian orders supply seasoned crusaders and southern grain to aid the plague-threatened north in return for perpetual coastal enclaves. Hans' aldermen drool at idea of cheap grain. Ulrich's jaw clenches so hard you hear teeth grind. Debate devolves into shouting, maritime maps flapping like trapped birds. You watch for openings. Willibald quietly circulates his plague treatise, highlighting risk of southern ships as disease vectors. Fear again proves efficient. Support for Martin's plan wanes. At night, you convene private strategy meeting in candle-lit hostel attic. Present are Ulrich, Stefan's proxy Abbot Nicholas, 2 Hun seniors, and you. You reveal Hospitaller grain sabotage letters and summarize Don Martin's Falcon message you decoded earlier, thanks to Willibald's hobby in cryptograms. It orders Calatrava agents to exploit plague to expand New Granada of the Baltic. Proof enough. Hans' reps blanch. They agree to endorse your charter instead, provided knights fund new quarantine stations. The aldermen will supply bureaucrats and, naturally, collect fees. Ulrich consents. Nicholas grumbles but signs. Ink dries, alliances shift yet again. The interception at sea. Meanwhile, Arvo's covert ride south meets calamity. News trickles to Lübeck via exhausted courier. Hospitaller grain fleet sighted off Saaremaa, but plague erupted aboard flagship. Capitan begged safe anchorage. Local fishermen refused. Desperate sailors tried landing at Secret Cove, where Arvo's party ambushed them. Skirmish in whale-gray surf, arrows hissing. They captured 2 ships, scuttled another. But plague? Real, not rumor. 3 Livonian rangers fell ill within days. Arvo writes that they burned infected vessels, cleansed survivors with vinegar smoke, then established a crude camp on wind-blasted dunes to quarantine. He begs for physician aid. Word of this spreads among council, adding urgency. Willibald volunteers to sail at once, taking donated herbs and your fresh quarantine protocols. You remain to shepherd charter through final ratification, though guilt gnaws like sea lice. Arvo risked life per your counsel. Before Willibald departs, you slip him a secondary task. Locate and retrieve Raimund, the Hospitaller novice now held by papal legate. His testimony could unravel deeper plots. Willibald nods, pockets sealed missive. Storm clouds loom again over Lübeck harbor as you watch the relief cog fade into gray chop. You wonder if the sea confides all secrets,
or just swallows them. Fires on the horizon. Days blur into committee sessions, seal stamping, and midnight wine shared with unexpected allies. Don Martin hasn't left town. He stalks council halls, courting fence-sitting merchants. One evening, he corners you beneath astronomical clock tower. "May the best Christendom win," he says, smiling without warmth. You reply, "Christendom tends to lose when it competes with itself." He laughs, the sound of steel sharpening on stone. Next dawn, a granary mysteriously ignites near the riverfront. Flames devour thousands of bushels earmarked for plague relief. Witnesses report hooded figures with Iberian accents. Ulrich pounds fist. Sabotage will not stand. You draft emergency decree. Marshal patrols with authority to question foreign knights. Some aldermen protest loss of trade freedom. You remind them charred grain profits, no one. City tension rises. Taverns buzz with rumors of Calatrava assassins. Don Martin vanishes from his inn. His falcon left behind, head neatly severed. Someone sending warning. The game escalates into cloak and torch warfare. You receive secret note slid under your hostel door. Meet at Marienkirche crypt. Midnight. Come alone. Signature is an inked 8-pointed cross. Hospitaller. Risk or opportunity? You arm with stiletto and slip into fog. In crypt shadows, a woman in dark habit greets you. Sister Beatrice, Hospitaller spy warden. Shock. She aided Raimund and claims inner circle displeased with sabotage path. She offers intel. Calatrava plot includes forging letters to link Ulrich with heretical sects, aiming to force papal censure and open Baltic to Iberian rescue. She'll hand over documents if you guarantee safe passage for Raimund and other disillusioned Hospitallers. You agree, tentatively. Exchange set for next night at abandoned leprosarium outside city walls. The leprosarium rendezvous. Moonless, air thick with chimney smoke. You arrive with Kaspar and 2 Teutonic scouts. Ruined chapel stands like broken tooth. Inside, moldy straw beds and flapping shreds of icon cloth. Sister Beatrice appears with satchel of parchments, proof of Calatrava forgery workshop in Bruges. She also brings Raimund, thin but alive. Willibald orchestrated escape en route, delivering him here discreetly. Trade succeeds, documents for passage. But as you leave, crossbow bolt thunks into doorframe. Calatrava riders burst from trees. Kaspar shoves Beatrice behind pillar, looses arrow. Chaos inside disease-scarred refuge. Dust explodes from rotten beams. You drag Raymond toward back exit. Outside, rain begins, again. You sprint across weedy yard to half-collapsed wall where Stefan's proxy squad waits mounted. Skirmish ends with 2 Calatravas captured, others flee. You ride back to Lübeck soaked but triumphant, proof and living witnesses in tow. Hans Council convenes emergency session at dawn. You present forged letters, captive knights, testimony. Public scandal detonates. Calatrava delegation expelled. Their ships impounded. Don Martin nowhere. Rumor says he bribed a fisherman and slipped to sea. Ulrich seizes moment. He and Stefan, via Nicholas, sign binding annex to charter, clause of mutual integrity, pledging transparent accounting of all diplomatic correspondence. Merchants cheer.
You wonder how long transparency lasts in a world of wax seals and coated falcons.
Plague, finally.
News from Arvo's quarantine camp grim. Plague stabilized, but not beaten. Willibald writes of buboes lanced with hot irons, vinegar poultices, constant prayer. Arvo survived, but bears livid scars and a fresh fear of coughs. 2 Hospitaller sailors redeemed themselves tending sick, died of it. Irony seldom sleeps. Yet containment seems to hold. No major outbreaks reported inland. Hansi physicians credit new port inspections, your drafts, though truth may rest with winds and luck. An uneasy summit. Spring sun glints on Lübeck's canals when Papal Nuncio arrives to bless the charter. Ceremony, banners unfurled, relics paraded again, choir boys hitting ambitious high notes. You stand between Ulrich and Stefan, first time they've shared dais without reaching for daggers. Charter signed, ink glistening like beetle wings. Applause rolls across Market Square. Yet as crowd disperses, you spy Don Martin among onlookers, disguised as beer vendor. Our Lady of Perpetual Grudges, give us strength. Raimund and Sister Beatrice granted asylum in Cistercian house. They'll copy plague treatises under Willibald's guidance. Redemption arc? Maybe. Night celebration inside Guildhall spills keg after keg of amber ale. You raise mug with Ulrich. He toasts, "To enemies we know," and you both laugh. Stefan later joins, pressing letter into your hand. Seal of Grand Duke of Lithuania asking for negotiation on conversion crusades. More plates spinning. But that's politics. A banquet where each course might poison. You excuse yourself, stepping onto balcony above canal. Moon finally unveiled. Calm water carrying lantern reflections. Glimmering lines like false paths on a map. You reflect on journey from frozen corpse by mill wheel to international charter hammered under plague shadow. Feuds still breathe, but now they wear new uniforms. Transparency, trade, public health. Same beasts in different livery. Behind you, revelers sing drinking psalms. Beneath, a lone boat glides, bearing crates stamped with 8-pointed cross. Hospitaller shipment tolerated under new protocols. Compromise, like river mist, seeps into everything. You pocket Stefan's Lithuanian letter, already feeling weight of next campaign. But that's for another night. For now, we rest on this narrow ledge between alliances and epidemics, knowing one hard gust could send us swimming. The letter from Lithuania is still warm from the Grand Duke's seal when a chill wind knifes down Lübeck's alleyways, rattling every signboard like a warning bell. You've barely slept, 2 hours at most, when Kaspar pounds on your hostel door, voice hushed but urgent. Don Martin's boat never left the harbor, he says. It moored at the old salt pier, then vanished underground. City Watch found a tunnel hidden beneath a fish cellar. Iberian saboteurs are burrowing straight into the grain depots, intent on finishing the work fire couldn't. No coffee, no breakfast, just boots, cloak, and an oath. As you lace your belt, you toss a quick reminder to the folks joining us at home. If you haven't yet subscribed, smash that button harder than Ulrich's fist on a tavern table. Leave a comment with your favorite medieval conspiracy, and share this saga with anyone who enjoys history spiced with betrayal. Lanterns out, friends. Time to descend. Kaspar leads you through clammy dawn mist toward the neglected wharf district. Rats scatter like thrown dice. In the fish cellar, a rotten trapdoor yawns over a ladder disappearing into blackness. The stench, tide, pitch, and old blood makes your eyes water. You drop, boots splashing into ankle-deep brine, torch sputtering. The tunnel slopes inward beneath the city wall, timbers reinforced with Spanish cedar. Someone planned long-term. Halfway down, you hear muffled voices, iron on wood. You signal. Caspar knocks an arrow. At a bend, dim torchlight reveals 3 Calatrava knights prying open a cargo hatch overhead. Behind them, piles of grain sacks glow golden in torchlight. Fresh relief stores meant for Arvo's plague camp. The intruders smear something black and tarry along the sack's seams. You recall tales of ergot mold, poisonous, invisible. They want panic, not flames this time. Your arrow whistles. One knight drops, clutching his neck, gargling a prayer. The others whirl, draw swords, shout challenges drowned by echo. Close quarters, steel scrapes brick. You parry, feel weight of grievance behind their strikes. Caspar skewers the second. The third charges, but footsteps splash behind him. Ulrich's lieutenant, Ritter Matthias, arrives swinging a warhammer that ends discourse. When the echoes die, you inspect the tar. Not ergot, pitch soaked with lamp oil. Simpler plan, torch the grain, then blame a hospitaller plague purge. You haul the oil barrels aside, douse fuses. Crisis aborted, for now. You confiscate a leather satchel from the fallen leader. Inside, correspondence stamped with Calatrava sigil and Don Martin's signet. Proof enough to damn him before any tribunal. Back on the street, sun peeks through clouds as bells toll prime. You realize timing is perfect. Papal Nuncio still in town, charter newly signed. An open trial will cement your alliance forever, or shatter it if mishandled. The Tribunal of Tangled Crosses. City Hall fills with aldermen, knights, and merchants packed shoulder to shoulder, breaths tangling like morning fog. Don Martin, arrested at Harbor Gate, stands shackled yet unbowed, eyes glittering with conviction or delusion. The Calatravas insist they're cleansing corrupted grain. You produce the satchel, read aloud orders to ignite scarcity, inflame necessity, thereby earning dominion. Gasps ripple, even hardened merchants look nauseous.
Then Martin speaks. And what of Teutonic greed, of hospitaller schemes? We all sin alike. He accuses Ulrich of hoarding plague remedies to sell later. He claims you forged the sabotage letters to villainize Iberia. Lies tumble like dice on a gaming board, each designed to smudge every faction until truth looks as filthy as falsehood. Ulrich steps forward, veins throbbing, but you raise a hand. Fury is fuel, evidence is fire. You summon Sister Beatrice and Raimund. Their testimonies recall Calatrava forgeries, hospitaller sabotage plots, and your mutual decision to expose both. It's messy, yes, but messy in daylight. Martin's strategy depends on darkness. Honesty, even blood-stained honesty, blinds him. The nuncio deliberates. Finally, gavel slams. Calatrava delegation expelled. Ships seized. Martin to face ecclesiastical court in Avignon. The crowd erupts, not cheering, just exhaling. For once, everyone's corruption is acknowledged, documented, and maybe limited.
As guards drag Martine away, he meets your gaze. "You win today, scribe," he murmurs, "but Christendom spins eternal. We'll meet on another turn." You believe him.
Letters north and east. Victory tastes like forge smoke, bitter, fleeting. 2 days later, you ride for Prussia with Ulrich and Abbot Nicholas, charter copies in wax tubes. Stefan summons you to Marienburg. Grand Duke Vytautas likewise requests audience. Lithuania's pagans, Crusaders' last justification, are negotiating baptism again. But there's rumor of Lithuanian civil feud, Samogitian rebels courting Hospitaller mercenaries for independence. Another feud within feud.
Along the amber road, spring finally breaks. Snowmelt floods birch groves, skylarks trill. Such innocence feels sarcastic. You meet Arvo recovering at a riverside infirmary, face gaunt but eyes bright. He grins, lifts his tunic to show pink scars where buboes were lanced. "Plague didn't want me," he jokes. He's joining you north, unfinished business.
At Marienburg, red brick towers loom above Nogat River. Stefan greets you in chapter hall scented by beeswax and wet wool. He's pleased with Lübeck outcome, wary of next storm. Hospitallers expelled from Baltic ports, yes, but some slipped to Samogitia, promising rebels weapons. If Teutonic and Livonian orders war against rebels, papacy could revoke crusade license, branding it political. If they don't, Hospitallers gain foothold. Lose-lose.
You suggest third path, a peace congress in Vilnius under Charter's transparency clause. Invite all orders plus Samogitian envoys. Mediate before plague or war spreads. Stefan chuckles. Dangerous idea, yet elegant. Ulrich mutters about talking with pagans, but concedes words cheaper than sieges. Courier pigeons launched, you draft agendas. Meanwhile, Raymond and Sister Beatrice translate captured Calatrava ciphers, unearthing map of secret arsenals in Bruges and Barcelona. You forward copies to Hans, hoping economic pressure curbs future sabotage.
Pilgrimage to Vilnius.
The convoy to Lithuania resembles a rolling paradox. Teutonic banners, Livonian cross-bearers, Dominican friars, Samogitian scouts, even 2 recovered Hospitallers acting as neutral medics. Plague patrols still dock roads, wooden frames with vinegar barrels for travelers to wash vapors from cloaks.
Nights around campfires bring unlikely confessions. A Teutonic sergeant admitting he once trained under a Calatrava master-at-arms. A Samogitian guide recalling childhood awe at Crusader pageants. You realize feuds draw strength from ignorance. Stories suture divides.
Outside Vilnius walls, makeshift hall erected from pine trunks and sailcloth. Rain drums above, while delegates argue below. Samogitians demand autonomy. Ulrich demands safe pilgrimage routes. Hospitaller envoys, surprise, arrive offering to fund hospitals if allowed small fortress near Nemesis. Trust is a 3-legged stool on shifting mud.
You serve as moderator, parchment inked, voice hoarse. When tempers flare, you invoke plague. If we bicker long enough, disease or famine will arbitrate. Fear, again, but earnest. Compromise seeds take root. Samogitians accept nominal baptism in exchange for land rights. Teutonic Order gains tax relief on amber trade. Hospitallers permitted hospital, not fortress, under joint oversight. Charter's clause of mutual integrity expanded to include Samogitia. Everyone signs with cramped hands, suspicious eyes. Later, pouring celebratory mead, Arvo leans close. Did we just end a crusade? You shrug. Or postpone it. History likes sequels.
Last Ghost of Calatrava.
2 nights before departure, messenger reports Iberian ship spotted near Klaipeda, unloading crates by moonlight. Calatrava remnant? You and Caspar ride hard through pine fog, reach dunes at dawn. Beach littered with broken crates. Inside, rust-flecked arbalists, Greek fire pots. Smugglers gone, but footprints lead to marsh huts. You pursue, hearts pounding. In a reed-thatched hut, you find Don Martin, gaunt, feverish, alone save one loyal squire. Shipmates mutinied, stealing arms to sell locally. Plague sores bloom on Martin's neck. He laughs seeing you. Even traitors fear death less than poverty, he rasps. You could leave him. Disease will finish. But nightly codes whisper. You burn the hut. Escort Martin, bound and masked, to quarantine tent. He'll face justice or eternity, far from intrigues. Before leaving, he calls out, charters, pacts, congresses, their parchment shields in a world of swords. You reply, maybe, but enough parchment stacks into walls. Not poetic, but true. Homeward, for now. Journey back to Marienburg, bathed in lilac-scented spring. Villages greet procession with cautious cheers. Word travels that war averted, plague contained. Raimund establishes mobile infirmary, teaching peasants hand-washing, revolutionary.
At castle banquet, Stefan toasts to peace scribbled in margins, Ulrich to enemies who teach us vigilance, Nicholas to beer brewed without mold. Laughter echoes against vaults. Later, you climb battlement alone. Moon silver plates Nogat waters. Distant wolf howls. You unroll worn charter original. Candlelight revealing stains. Blood, wine, rain, history's ink. Feuds may rekindle. New saboteurs will rise. But for one fragile breath in time, old orders collaborated. Merchants valued life over coin, and plague met science and solidarity instead of superstition. You exhale, letting night breeze turn pages. Somewhere below, Kaspar jokes with Arvo about courting Vilnius tavern sisters. Sister Beatrice debates theology with Ulrich. World keeps weaving. So, brave listener, if you've traveled this labyrinth with us, from frozen mill pond to Baltic Congress, take a bow. History is rarely heroes and villains, mostly people improvising between storms. If tonight's tale sparked a grin or gooseflesh, smash that like, subscribe for more midnight escapades, and drop a comment. Which medieval pact would you trust to last longer than a loaf of monastery bread? Blow out your candle, settle beneath quilts, and listen to rain tapping cedar shingles. Ancient Morse code reminding us every feud, every plague, every secret order eventually dissolves into quiet. And in that quiet, maybe we sleep.